We're gonna brew a coffee the exact same way that we do here on the slow bar. Today we're using kind of one of my definite favorite roasters of all time, Apollon's Gold. We're good friends with these guys now. They're based out of Tokyo. I'm very partial to Japanese roasters. Not that they do it awesome, but they do it awesome. Everything they produce, what they roast, always slaps, is always awesome. I love it. And this one is probably one of my top coffees of the year for sure. So yeah, we're gonna brew this on the bar today. You can ask my staff, I have to keep that top clean. Nothing drives me more bananas when somebody just rips open the top of a coffee bag. You have to smell the bag whenever you open it. Non-negotiable. This is the second time I've opened it and it still smells amazing. I know it sounds cheesy, but you get to know what you're about to brew even before you brew it. There's definitely a bit of funk to it. So anaerobic naturals have almost like kind of a fermentation process to it, kind of similar to what you do with wine and what you do with booze. So a lot of that fermentation will kind of permeate through into the bean. Yeah, funk, like this winey, boozy kind of smell in some coffees. I've smelled coffees that smell like cheese, which are kind of gross, but whatever. I've had it smell like raspberry ice cream. I've had it smell like blueberries. Specialty coffee is a whole different world. Easy Presso, my favorite grinder. So we're gonna use the Easy Presso K Ultra, which is our mainstay on the bar. If we're doing an anaerobic natural, if we're doing a really funky coffee, if we're doing a washed coffee, I like it because it's kind of very versatile. My kind of go-to scale, the Hario Polaris. Everybody has their favorite scale. This is my favorite scale. Doesn't make it the best scale, but it's my favorite, so it's the best scale. It's the only scale that I know that has a percentage function, which has totally ruined the way I brew coffee because I don't do any more math. Not that anybody wants to do any more math, but I really don't do any more math when I'm brewing. So when I use a scale that's not this thing, I get totally lost because I'm like, shit, is it 20 grams? Damn it. So Hario Polaris. Here at the bar, we tend to always kind of chase what the roaster is telling us to chase. So they want us to get passion fruit, raspberry ice cream, rose hip tea. Does it always come out? Sometimes, sometimes not. So our goal is to kind of get to those flavor profiles from the roaster. Who's gonna know these beans better than the people who roasted it and sourced it? Definitely not us, it's the guys who got it in Japan. So they suggest here brewing it at about 90, 93, which I find is good for natural, a little bit cooler. And they want us to go from 1 to 17.5 to 1 to 19. 1 to 19 is a bit light for me, so I kind of always go 1 to 18, especially with Apollon stuff. Everybody has their ratio. There's no right or wrong answer. You like stronger coffee, go 1 to 16, 1 to 15. You like lighter coffee like me, 1 to 18. The beauty of also buying and selling and serving the best roasters in the world is that they're always kind of awesome. Let's weigh it out. A fancy coffee like this on the bar, we'll brew 15 grams, which will give us at a 1 to 18 ratio, 270 grams total yield. Smell it along the way the whole time. The K Ultra I have set to about 8.2. The beauty of the K Ultra is that it's fast as all hell. Nothing like standing there for an hour grinding. The K Ultra is just speedy, super fast, which I love. Always kind of give that last little spin. The Graycano Porcano Carafe. Using my favorite dripper, the Graycano. There's no one dripper for one coffee or one style. It's your flavor profile. I just love the Graycano. It's aluminum, gets super hot, looks cool. Matte black, everything, of course. This is their filter paper, the GC1 from them. We are using our favorite kettle on the bar, the Beasty kettle by a company called Amadana. It has a built-in thermometer. It's analog, inductionable gas. I am a giant preheater. I love a hot carafe and a very rinsed paper. Some people say it's unnecessary. I think, why not? Get it nice and clean. What I like to do with a little spoon or a little stir stick is kind of seat the paper so I have it very flush to the walls. The Graycano is not a zero bypass brewer, but it's very close because of how close the paper fits to the walls. They have these little ribs they call lava ribs, which do help with some airflow. But if you seat the paper properly, which you should have all the paper adhere to the walls of your dripper. Lots of swirling. You dump out that water. Totally different when it's ground versus when it's not, obviously. All right, so we tear the scale. Coffee right in the center. Make sure you get everything there. What happened to my 15 grams? 0.1 to the coffee gods. Another neat little tool that we use that we love is the Nucleus Bloom. The needles are a bit thicker and they're rounded to the tip so you don't pierce and poke the paper. Keep it straight, give it a little agitation, a little stir here just to kind of declump it. And when you're in the brew, you kind of splay it open and give it another little spin. And actually, if you can kind of see, the chaff almost raises to the top. Chaff is that kind of papery bit around the bean. And then when you're done, this little nubbin in the back here, depress a little well in the center, which is kind of neat because we're gonna pour right in that center. Boom, tear. Back to 0 on the percentage. We make sure our temperature's there. Pouring technique, everybody has their own. I'm not too slow, I'm not too fast. That's why a good kettle like this really helps. So what I like to do, start in that well that we made. I go kind of counterclockwise. And my first bloom is 20% for 45 seconds, allowing it to degas. So when you use the Polaris, you're essentially looking at kind of 20% at each time. 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, until we reach 100%. 45 seconds, second pour. I like to keep things kind of consistent and simple here. Of course, every bean could use a little bit of a different style, but I find keeping our recipes a little bit consistent on the bar helps with consistency. Wait till the bed subsides. Next pour to 60%. I like faster brews. I want this to be done in about 2.5 minutes. 2.5, 3 minutes is okay. Once you're creeping into that 4-minute mark, it's probably a little bit too long. As the water subsides and you expose a bit of that coffee bed, I'll go in again. The fourth pour is 80%. And then the last pour we pour in the middle. I find I don't need to agitate anymore. I've extracted everything I've needed to extract to 100%, and that's the end of it. And then when we're done, a little drip cup. Apax, our new best friends. I love Apax drops. So Simon, who owns Apax out in Australia, really nice guy. We've kind of gone back and forth. His reasoning is kind of like, it's kind of like seasoning your coffee, kind of like you would with food. At the end, a little pinch of salt, a little whatever to bring out in your brews. They have kind of had their little proprietary formulas. They have lilac, tonic, conflux, and jam. So all of them will bring out different kind of elements in your brew and what you're kind of chasing. But I'm gonna use some jam. Rich, syrupy, creamy, the funky anaerobic stuff. I wanna bring out a bit of that kind of mouthfeel out of it. Nothing crazy, we just did about 6 drops into this. I always swirl brews, it's very important. That's why I like these kind of wider bellied carafes. Coffee at knife. We use a tray made by Shimamura Kihan in Japan. Everything Japanese, of course. Coasters from my good friends in Saitama, Japan. Funny story with this is that it was a gift. They made me, I think, 4 coasters 10 years ago. It just says in one of our shipments, it's like, here, thanks so much. We made these for you. I love them. Thin-walled glass from Hario, of course. Our drinking water here is good old Toronto tap water. But, of course, since you're a knife, it has a stick of Binchotan charcoal in it. I think it makes Toronto tap water taste fantastic, to be honest with you. We are gigantic water snobs here, as you should be in this world. Our nice coffee and a warmed glass. Slow bar is kind of my ode to this other side of knife. We wanted a place to showcase the products that we were selling anyway. I mean, people were coming up to us like, what the hell is this? Even on the sharpening side of things, when people come in and they don't know how to use a stone or this and that, but they can also just hang out and watch us do it. So the slow bar is kind of our way of showcasing the coffee side of knife. So it's not a cafe, there's no Wi-Fi here, there's no boba tea and matcha and croissants. We just do one thing, which is just black pour over coffee. And it's a good way to interact with the community because a coffee shop is, to me, very transactional. It's like, pick up latte for John, see you later. The bar is here. We want you to hang out. We want you to geek out. So that's kind of what the slow bar has become, you know? I don't drink coffee to wake up. I wake up to drink coffee, if that makes sense. And I love the ritual aspect of making a pour over. I like to wake up in the morning. I want to weigh out my beans, geek out, know my water's right. And it's part of our handmade kind of culture. I love pour over coffee because it is handmade coffee. In Japan, pour over translates to hand brewing, and I love that.